Welcome to another Demarcation Media Mega Construx review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the 20th anniversary Johnson versus the Series 5 Johnson. So there have been a handful of Johnson figures over the years. There was that first one that was like the Halo 2 version that came out with the, what was that, the Spectre? No, not the Spectre. I don't remember what the name of the vehicle is. Anyway, he looked like he was in need of help. He looked like he came out of a mental hospital. That face print was terrible. The head mold was and he just overall wasn't good. Then we got the Series 5 one next, and then we got the one from the Marauder, the Banished Marauder, and then we got the 20th anniversary version. The two most notable, in my opinion, of all of the Johnsons is the 20th version and the Series 5 version. So we're going to take a look at them one by one. But before we do, I just wanted to say another quick thanks to Megabirb, because he is the one that provided the Series 5 Johnson, because I have not been able to get any Series 5 figure other than Chief a while back, and even he got passed on. So this video would not be possible without Megabirb. So we are going to start off with the Series 5 Johnson. He comes armed with a Splazer, since gone are the days of him using sticks and rocks as weapons. This is the old Splazer, and I really don't like the old Splazer. It's just kind of clunky and gross, but the print is nice. And then the figure himself, first of all, the head looks pretty good. He does just have pinhole eyes, but that's pretty well done. There's some printed hair. The mold is very good. His hat does have a UNSC symbol on it, but it is silver, so it blends in kind of a bad way. And then he has silver dry brushing on his hat, which is a little weird, because silver dry brushing is for metal, and his hat is not metal. Then the rest of his armor is the Halo 2 and 3 armor that we have seen before on Marines. And then we have some print up here. It's asymmetrical, and I don't know how accurate that is, but it looks pretty good. His shoulders have nice dry brushing. Got some more dry brushing here. His feet have black and green print, which looks great. I especially like the dry brushing right there. Overall, this guy is really, really cool. I like the tan in there, and he lives up to his kind of legendary status in the world of Mega Construx collecting. He looks really good, and this was pretty much the definitive Johnson to get if you wanted a good Johnson in your collection. Not bad at all. Obviously, he could have been improved with the print for the eyes, but for such a small head, it's very realistic looking. The one downside, well, actually, no, let me rephrase that. There are two downsides to this figure. The first downside is the fact that he is so expensive. Like, for real, it's gonna put you back $100 or so if you want this figure. And then the other downside is the fact that they kind of went wild with the dry brushing. Like, it looks good, especially on his feet and stuff, but like on the hat, why? It's not a metal hat, it's just a cloth hat. So that's a little weird. And on his hands, there's some dry brushing, and his forearms and stuff, and there really didn't need to be. But overall, this guy's really cool. And like I said, up until recently, this would be the definitive Johnson you would want in your collection. And here is the 20th anniversary Johnson. This one is based on his appearance in Halo Combat Evolved. So he has the kind of lighter bronzy gold armor and like the lighter green undersuit. So here's one of the CE Marines. You can see he matches perfectly, but you can also see he has some differences. First of all, he has a full green undersuit instead of a green and black, and his chest plate has some print, so you instantly know he is a different rank. And let's see. We've got his weapon, which is just a normal AR here. Not a splazer like the other Johnson. And this one is much less armored. You can see we've got the shoulders that don't really get armor put on there. The print on the chest is pretty nice. He's got some hair, but it's a little shorter actually. We'll look at that in a second though. But it's done pretty well. The hat has a little black UNSC symbol. Mine is a little close to the top, but overall it looks pretty good. And then his face, it's a little hard to see actually, so let me get in closer. All right, here we go. So the face this time is, for one thing, a very, very much darker skin tone, which I don't think it's exactly accurate, but it looks all right. I think, it's definitely a little too dark, but it looks all right. And then he's got, of course, his mustache, but the eyes this time around have the white little print. I actually had to put some like Gundam marker to cover up some excess white that made him look weird. And he does look a little bit like he's looking off this way, but it does make the head very realistic, especially like in this lighting right now. He looks a little bit scary real. So I'm happy with the way this head is. I really like it. Although it's not often, unfortunately, that the 20th Johnson's head turned out looking okay. There have been a lot of really bad misprints, and this is actually my second Johnson. Megabirb actually sent me a 20th Johnson as well because mine at the time had not come. But since it did, I was just able to get a look at another Johnson, and his actually looks pretty decent as well. So it's kind of, I guess, like a 50-50 chance of getting a decent Johnson head. Oh, also he has ungloved hands this time in the darker color, which unfortunately shows stress marks pretty well. Now, I have not really had many of the Halo hands break. I think the only reason a Halo hand broke was because I like tripped and landed on it or something, and it snapped that way. But so far, the stress marks have not ever caused a hand to break for me. Alrighty, so now we are going to compare the two. So first of all, their weapons are totally different, so there's really no comparison there. We will take this, get rid of it, and we will take this and get rid of it. Let me put them into kind of more neutral poses. Whoa, his arm is bending the wrong way. So obviously, there's a huge difference here. The Halo, what is this? This is a Halo 2 or 3 Johnson, but somebody tell me in the comments, is this specifically Halo 2 or specifically Halo 3? Now I'm thinking about it, wasn't Series 5 all about Halo 3? Because we had the Prophet of Truth, we had the Brute, like, bodyguard or whatever. So, yeah, I think this is Halo 3. And it's just his armor is a lot beefier than it was in CE. So there's that. And then obviously, again, the skin tone. Look at the difference. This Johnson is more of a red-brown, while this one is kind of a really dark, dark brown. Gloved hands versus ungloved hands. So like that. The hat on the new Johnson matches kind of his undersuit, whereas this guy's matches his armor. I do think it's a point in the new Johnson that he has a black UNSC logo instead of silver, because I really can barely see the logo on his hat at all, which is a bummer because that's kind of a big part of Johnson's character is his hat with the UNSC logo. The hair is a bit wider on this side. We can see some hair on kind of the front of his ear, as opposed to here, it's just behind his ear, which actually, that's pretty cool, because if you have both of these in your collection, it would show kind of the passing of time and Johnson's hair has grown a little bit more. So that's kind of cool. So I think really the only thing that keeps the Series 5 Johnson from being the definitive Johnson is, well, two things. Again, the price like, you can't have a figure and say, this is the definitive version of this figure, this is the one everyone should buy, when that figure is ridiculously priced. And the fact that he just has the little pinhole eyes, that's a little off-putting, because this Johnson's head looks so good when it's printed correctly. Now, there is a couple extra points to the 20th version because he's so versatile, and I'll show you what I mean. Let me grab. So if you're like me and don't have the Series 5 figures and don't particularly feel like hunting them down, you can take a just normal Marine here, pop his head off, pop Johnson's head off, and voila. We now have a Halo 2 and 3 Johnson. Obviously not as polished as the Series 5 version, and we don't have the kind of asymmetrical print, but I'd say that's pretty serviceable. His hat doesn't match his armor, but doesn't really need to. It is just a hat. It's not like a helmet or anything. So that's pretty cool. But that's not all. If you happen to have an extra rookie lying around, you can yoink off Rookie's head, yoink off Johnson's head, pop it on. Obviously, you'd have to switch out the hands, but since this is my only rookie, I'm not going to be switching out the hands. We'll just ignore the hands. Ta-da! You have Johnson as he shows up in the Halo 3 ODST game. So that's pretty cool. And this head works on pretty much all of them. It looks good on pretty much all of them. And he's just overall a really versatile figure. So that's points for this guy. And then, obviously, he is a little bit easier to get a hold of. The 20th anniversary pack is still a bit of a mess. It's still not that great to try and find it for cheap, but it is a little bit more accessible than the Series 5 figures. So, which one of these figures is the definitive Sergeant Johnson that you need in your collection? This is the hardest one so far. Most of the other videos I've been able to easily say the 20th version, but I'm not saying the 20th version right away here because, number one, Johnson's face, when it looks good, but when it looks bad, it looks bad. Like when Mega messes the print up, it looks really, really, really bad. So that's one thing, and obviously the pack is still kind of hard to find, but it kind of really just comes down to personal preference here because there's just so much different here. And the fact that there's a jump in which game the costume is. So the CE outfit is obviously a lot different than the Halo 2 and 3 outfit. And you might like the Halo 2 and 3 outfit better than CE or vice versa. And then that'll make up your mind for you. Or maybe it's the way the face looks. Maybe it's the skin tone. But I don't know if I can really say which one of these is better. They both have their pros, they both have their cons, and at the end of the day, they're both excellent figures. So, really comes down to personal preference and budget. How much are you willing to pay to get a Sergeant Johnson in your collection? Like I showed you before, you can easily take this guy's head and put it on a Marine or on an ODST, and have yourself a ODST Johnson or a Halo 2 and 3 Johnson. But maybe you just really like this Series 5 version, and it's perfectly understandable because that's a really nice looking figure. So, really, I think at the end of the day, for these two, it boils down to personal preference, and neither of them take the number one spot, which feels weird to say. I kind of want to be able to tell you, yes, one of these figures is better than the other, but I can't because they're so different. They are so different in price. It's really just personal preference. I myself like the CE Johnson better, for a couple reasons. First of all, I'm really biased because this was the figure that Mega asked me to reveal for the 20th pack. So I kind of, he's like my figure out of the whole pack. So I really like him for that reason. But also, his head looks really good when it's done really well. And I do like the CE like armor color. And he's just overall a really cool figure. I really like the way he turned out. But again, really, it's something that you're going to have to make up your mind on. And I can't tell you which one is better. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And I'll see you next time.